How do you think Dogs in the Vineyard deals with this? Like, what are your opinions in that respect with that system?
Um, I still am a little bit on the fence about whether pushing the dice out in sequences like that is anything but uh, ritualization. And the answer is that if the narration of what's being done in pushing out has what in Champions we call special effects, so that countering it this time in this microsecond with what you push out is important in and of itself. In other words, if the conflict is only about whether that bullet strikes me or my bullet strikes, if that's the only thing the conflict is about, we might as well just roll our piles of dice and look at the total. Because what's the point of just pushing them out 1 by 1 or 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 or 2 by 2 or 3 by 3, right? If what's the point of doing that except to sort of maybe enjoy the bullet cam in an extended fashion, which is possible. Or is it actually kind of important that this micro moment of what they do when they push out their 2 dice, and you're looking at it and you're going, tactically or strategically in the fullness of this whole conflict, I can go ahead and eat that one, push out a couple of my crap dice because I'd like to really reserve these biggies back here for, he used a couple of biggies, so I'd like to reserve a couple of my biggies.
Right.
For the next time I do it. And I don't really mind taking that. That's just another punch. So he punches me another time in the context of this brawl. Right then. Might take a little fallout from it, but okay. I live for fallout. No problem. Or is the nature of what the person does in the context of the brawl to make sure that the lantern gets knocked over and lights the place on fire too? And this is a little tricky because all of a sudden you have a bit of a struggle in teaching the rules, because in Dogs in the Vineyard there's all this stuff about how the conflict is about what the conflict is about. Period.
Right.
Well, yes, but what the conflict is about is not always as simple as that, and can have lots and lots and lots of relevant, not secondary, it's not a new contest. You're stopping him from trying to, you're stopping him from doing who knows what, running off to kill his sister or whatever it was, in the example in the book. But in the middle of this brawl that you're having with him, this action, when the other guy pushes out 2 massive dice, 2 massive values, and says, yeah, and I'm knocking over that lantern. Right. That's my tactic in this brawl. And the burning oil is going to splash all over the place, primarily around you, and who knows what else is going to light on fire. I don't care. And all of a sudden, this building is in danger of going up.
Right.
It doesn't even have to be established that it will. It only has to be put in danger, and quite likely that it might. I mean, at the very least, there's going to be a follow-up contest about saving the burning building if anyone wants to try. So far, so good?
Yeah.
When an action, you see, the follow-up contests in Dogs actually are a useful item in this regard. If you do an action in the midst of just putting out an action, and it is rich with follow-up contest potential, then I, looking at that, says, shoot, I was planning on reserving my biggest dice for just the end of this contest, just in case he does the same, so that we use up all of our little crap dice first, and then finally the biggies clash.
Right.
Again, pretty predictable. All you have to do is look at the two dice pools anyway, and you'll figure out how it'll go if you do that. But if the narrations along the way are problematic, relevant, and scary enough on their own, then you basically are raising the possibility of, okay, maybe I'll blow a couple of my bigger dice on countering that. I'm not going to take the blow. I'm going to see that one, and I am going to make that not happen. Whatever else it is that happens during this fight, maybe me having used up my 10 and my 12, right? Max rolls on a 10 and a 12-sided and a 10-sided, my two biggest numbers in my roll. But, looking at that, you just, you really nailed me. You're coming in with this monster value on setting the joint on fire, probably, in the midst of our punchingness. I'm going to go ahead and blow my two high. I have to. I'm not going to let this place go on fire. And then whether that results in you losing the fight or not depends on the rest of your dice. And I'm saying either way, it's okay. The point being that now that micro step in dogs does matter. But if you don't do that, if you don't play that way, screw it. It's just an enormous waste of time. So does that make any sense?
Yeah.
A counter-argument comes from the card version of Primetime Adventures, which was the version that most people know is played with cards. It's the blue one with the TV on the front. And in that, you can go 3 rounds of drawing cards. And the game and the rules suggest going one at a time. Now, granted, the outcome is decided by looking across the 3 cards versus across your 3 cards. But it's kind of fun because you can, see the details of the car chase as you go, but you'll notice that it's quite short. There are 3 beats.
Right.
And it's not very onerous to color up the pro form. I mean, you are going to be unloading those 3 cards. Saying anything doesn't change anything about them or their content, and it certainly doesn't have anything to do with any other options that you have in that game.
Right.
So far, so good. I think your camera froze up on me a little bit.
Did it?
Yeah. Do you want to? No, you're fine now. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
For a minute, I couldn't tell if you were just had gone somnolent on me due to the flu or whether you had frozen. So I was watching the pooch, seeing if any movement was happening. Yeah. So we have, I think, a pretty interesting point that in that version of Primetime Adventures, yes, it's doing much of what I said was pro forma and perhaps not really recommended, in that you, instead of just flipping over the 3 cards and comparing with the other guy's 3 cards, which happens to be the producer. You always draw against the producer in Primetime Adventures. You put out your 3 cards, or you can go one by one, and it is just a matter of kind of pacing through the contest linearly a bit, because the relative value of the cards on that draw lets you know who has the advantage, but the outcome is decided when you're looking at all 3, and all 3 values matter.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, you don't always have 3 cards. That would be when you have a lot of cylinders firing. But when you do have more than just 1 card to draw, that's what they recommend you do. Notice again, it's fairly short, it's optional, and it is easily adapted into nearly any contest without it really being, what's the word I want? It's kind of like you're not forced to narrate a mechanic just because you did the mechanic. You are choosing. It's a little bit saying, if you're in the mode where you want to say Gunch for the Goblin Head, if that's kind of how you feel, here's a chance. You can play it out a little bit because that's fun. But so that's really the only time that I can think of where the sort of obligatory roll, describe actually ends up being fun as a requirement. And as I keep repeating, it's not actually a requirement in this case. It's just an option. Right. So again, am I making some points about this that seem like they could fly?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a game that I actually pulled out in order to display. So this is Venus 2041. And it was published once and canceled almost certainly, or almost immediately after it came out, and disappeared. And so its virtues have vanished from the ether.
Yeah, I Googled it and I really only found your site talking about it.
Yeah. And so the interesting thing about Venus 2041 is that you have players who have plot points, and you have the GM who has Murphy points. The GM gets Murphy points mainly when the players use their gear, because you want better gear.
Sorry, say again?
That's right. The GM gets Murphy points when the players use their gear, because the gear is better than what you can afford with the game currency, and so to get good gear, you take Murphy points, and so whenever that's used, the GM gets Murphy points. So going into the session, the GM has only so many what's called racks of dice, which is a set of dice, to use. And unless they get enough Murphy points to play with, they are going to run out of dice. So the GMs, it's a little bit like the budget in Primetime Adventures. It's a little harsher in that the GM's going to run out of dice to roll sooner or later in the course of the session. Right. Typically. So therefore the GM's kind of in the role of saying, well, I'm going to basically throw every contest for a while, and then I'm going to hammer them toward the end, or it'll be the other way around. I'll beat the shit out of them for a while, but then they won't have much opposition toward the end, whichever. Or just play it by ear as you go and see how that works out. But I want to look at what's going on with the players. When the players roll, they, due to the traits they're using, each player rolls a little set of die sixes, which is also called a rack. So you roll that, and is that called a... No, that's just your dice pool. You roll your dice pool, and then you arrange it into racks. Each rack has a number of successes. If, for example, all you want to do is beat this dude, then you make one rack and all your successes have gone into doing that. Fine. Or if you want to change up all the things you're trying to accomplish at the moment, you may have multiple racks. You may even choose not to attack that dude who's pummeling you at the moment, and just let those successes be whatever they are coming in on you, and attend to a bunch of other things instead. So you're looking at your die roll, and you're the one who divides them up into different racks. You can even bank successes out of this contest and say, you know what, those are just going to become plot points for later. I'm in this contest, I'm getting my ass kicked. But I don't mind getting my ass kicked. I am going to get my ass kicked, and I am going to bank all the successes that I make on my rolls into plot points for later. Or split them up, enough to just make it through the fight, and then you got some more. Fantastic. That would be the best, right? Winning the contest and banking some plot points, but it's not that easy. So do you see how that works? There you are looking at your dice roll and you're doing some divvying, and then somewhat Tunnels and Trolls like, you kind of see how everybody divvied up, and now you've got the meat you need to actually state both the outcomes, how many successes were rated and whether they overcame that guy's success or not if they were opposed. And you also get to, people are kind of interested, they're saying, because they had to say, wow, this guy's pounding on me with a tire iron. All I care about is getting over there and punching that button on the wall. I want to hit the emergency, signal, or I want to, dump the radioactive ballast into space, or whatever it is that the button does. And so you just announced everybody's rolled and they're divvying up, and you're like, okay, I'm divvying up this way. All I care about is getting over there. And like everyone looks at you and says, the dude's beating you with a tire iron. You're like, I'm taking it. All those hits, I'm taking them.
Right.
But look at those successes I got. Those successes I'm punching, I'm getting to the button because of those successes. And everybody's like, and you tell me, how likely is it for anybody at the table to suddenly describe, however briefly or just through a reaction, you taking a bunch of tire iron hits on the way to finally being able to punch that button?
Right.
Somebody might mimic your character's face during the button punch. Someone else just might shudder and go, oh, man.
Someone else can get real specific about ribs broken.
Or the, like the narrator, the GM person is probably going to say, yeah, he's wailing on you with the tire iron, you're crawling,
Right.
It's real easy to get into that kind of play. And it's very engaging because, again, you've got an interplay between the mechanics, your alternatives based on the mechanics. Notice that this is slightly different from Tunnels and Trolls because you can divvy stuff up. You can divvy your priorities after you roll rather than before, like you do in Tunnels and Trolls.
Right.
But the principle is the same. I think I've made my point mainly by punching it from different examples rather than actually stating it as a bold principle. But that's kind of where I'm driving at with this. And I think that's crucial for the game you're describing. In fact, what you sent me in the email, I was thinking, hot damn, Venus 2041, that's what he needs.
Yes.
And so...
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
And definitely not, I had a horror of, oh no, he's making wushu. Oh no, not another one.